WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by JW Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Welcome back. We Should Know is on the air. Thank you for being with us today. My name is JW Simmons. I'm your host. Star Communications TV Channel 16, WCLN Radio, both places you can hear this show weekly. Our guest today is Dr. Bill Starling, President of Sampson Community College. Bill, thank you for taking time to come in and sit down and talk to us.
JW, thank you for having me back. I don't remember how long ago it was I had an opportunity to engage you, but it's been a few years, a lot's happened, and look forward to our conversation.
Absolutely, and I always appreciate you being here. When I look at things that are going on in education, and I look at the superintendents of both school systems here and the president of the community college, is those organizations that really move society forward through an education process that's not only important, but I look back and I want to talk a bit about your history, because you started out with a degree in chemistry.
I did.
And from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and then you went to, in fact, you got 3 universities here in a row. East Carolina University, master's education, and doctorate of education, North Carolina State University. But your talents and skills has always been focused at Sampson Community College. I'm not injecting that it could or anything happen, but the reality is you've got close to 45 years, if I'm remembering.
I'm not counting them, and if any of the staff and faculty are looking at that, I know they're laughing at your observation.
But it's important.
I feel them many days.
Absolutely, and what I'm getting to here is your experience base is not only important, but you've seen a lot of things evolve, a lot of things happen over that period of time, because you have been in a position in administration, served in multiple particular things, but particularly from the wheelhouse that you see the large picture. I want to open today and just ask you, over the years, what has been one of the biggest challenges you have seen for community colleges? And we're looking back at several decades now, but what has been that biggest challenge? Is it salaries? Is it capital outlay? What is those things that you've looked at? Did you remember a time when you thought, how are we going to accomplish this?
I don't know that each individual institution would have its own particular set of challenges. The ones that we experienced when you and I work together are in many respects the same ones that we experience today. Access to capital outlay, we can discuss in a few minutes. I think we have some projects to look forward to over the next couple of years. Employee recruitment, employee retention, certainly it's been exacerbated on the other side of COVID. We're having to compete now in a very competitive market for skilled people who have other options. Enrollment, especially, when you're in the rural part of North Carolina, and if you look at any of the enrollment or the population projections or whatever for Eastern North Carolina, they're challenging if you're trying to grow a school. We've been fortunate this fall, we've had the largest enrollment, both in continuing education and in curriculum, that we've ever had. As we were talking off camera, I think a lot of that is because of our success in becoming somewhat more regional. Mm-hmm. Certainly we serve Sampson County as our emphasis, but a lot of the programs that we have appeal to people that are on counties that surround us and are recognized as programs of distinction. So to go back to the days in which we typed registration forms and we were on the quarter system, from those challenges or whatever to the challenges of today, there's some of the same ones. There are some that are just more difficult to address than they were back then. But we've been a resilient school. We have been fortunate to be supported by the business community, supported to the extent that the commissioners could. They have supported us, and we've tried to be good custodians of all the money that's been available to us. And when you ride by, you see, the walking track, you see some improvements in just the way the campus looks. Most of that is from private foundation funds. So we're using all funding sources, trying to build a sense of community, and trying to present Sampson Community College as a resource for all of Sampson County.
It's interesting also, as what you alluded to, is that the community colleges now have seemed to blur those lines of geographical territorialism, in which historically you look back and it was like community colleges served this county or that community college served that county. Now people are going wherever that program is that fits them, and they're willing to do that.
Fortunately and unfortunately, so much of our course delivery now is online. So students can choose to take the same course with us, and if they wanted to, they could take it from any of the other 57 institutions. So there is a complete blurring of lines for so much of our course delivery now. And that's one of the things when we have conversations with our faculty, and that is, your courses need to be different than the courses that they can take some other place. Your expertise, your personality, your energy needs to be built in the course content. Again, we've been successful at that. We need to sustain that effort so that if someone says, well, I can take the course from Sampson or I can take it from some other place, that they would choose to take it here. Because not only would they have access to the faculty member if they would choose to drive in or whatever, but also they recognize in the course content and the way we're delivering instruction that we're doing it at the highest level. We're doing well relative to our neighboring institutions. I'm not going to tell you it's not a competitive world. I can assure you that James Sprunk Community College is very much concerned about their future and their service to Duplin County, as is Bladen, and certainly Fayetteville Tech continues to grow and grow and grow. So far, we've been successful.
The follow-up question to that, it seems as though in today's world that everything reflects back to like 2019 to COVID. This is happening now because of COVID. Expectation here now is because of what happened with COVID. Is this technology demand, should I say, of courses online and those kinds of things, did it exasperate the idea that we have to do that now because what happened with COVID pushed online and technology pieces forward 5-10 years?
I think everything changed during COVID, even in a rural institution. We had distance learning programs and distance learning courses before then, and they were well subscribed, but they were not fully accepted. But during COVID, course delivery across higher education, whatever, through distance learning exploded all over everywhere. And guess what we learned? That if you put a face-to-face section on the schedule next to a DL section, for the most part, students are choosing the DL section. That's not unique to Sampson Community College. That is across the university system and across any of our institutions that we might be competitive with. But it also legitimized it, because at that point in time, there was no other way for students to access courses. And they came out of this just as so many of our workforce students said, I've proven to you that I can work from home. Why do you want to bring me back to? So it created an impetus that both for workers and for online course delivery, that now it's not even a question about how we're going to deliver some courses or some programs. They're going to be delivered online.
And has that become a given expectation that folks does not even really think twice? They just make that assumption, well, this course is going to be something I can take online. Is it moving more and more in that direction?
Well, think about what we do. So much of what community colleges teach involves learning skill acquisition or manipulative skills or clinical responsibilities or whatever. So there's at least over half of the programs of study that don't lend themselves to any form of distance learning. But if you're teaching, transfer courses or whatever, that were typically lecture-oriented courses, they do lend themselves to DL delivery. So it's only going to go so far. We want to do the courses that we're doing in distance learning. We want to do them at the highest level possible. Now, science classes and, quite honestly, math. We think students benefit from being in a face-to-face setting. We're not unique in that. I think a lot of higher education finds that their success rate in some of the courses are higher or better in face-to-face delivery. And we've reasoned the same way. You can take math, DL. We might look at you and say, let's talk a little bit. We think you might be more successful in a face-to-face section. Mm-hmm. But for so many of our CCP kids, I mean, you think about the size of the county and the commuting time and the commuting cost. And as a parent and grandparent, the exposure mm-hmm. to safety, just driving back and forth. DL courses for those young people make complete sense. They can take them when they want to because they're asynchronous in time. They can access the faculty whenever they need to. We're in a different, for those of us who are old school, mm-hmm. we have to set aside some of our preconceptions, or that's not the way it happened when I came along. I can remember telling people, yeah, I had a distance learning doctoral experience. Yeah, I got in the car and I drove to NC State for every class, and that was the distance learning arrangement. But for our young people who are going, we have a number of people that are going through doctoral programs now at school, and they're blended and online. Those are just as legitimate experiences as the ones I had. It's just a different time.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm choosing to exit this portion today and come back with the same opening, and that's start here and go anywhere. I want to examine that. I've always been kind of excited with that motto. So, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're talking with Dr. Bill Starling, President of Sampson Community College, about that idea that you can start there and go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
Providing fewer commutes, more backyard offices, and crystal clear meetings. Providing less, you froze up, and more presence in your presentations. Providing a better internet experience. Providing possible.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
You forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
Most aging adults want to stay in their homes as long as possible. And as your loved ones get older, you want to support them, even when you can't be there. Star is proud to offer Star Alert. This new system is now mobile and has GPS compatibility, so your loved ones can live their lives and you can have peace of mind, knowing they can get the help they need with just the simple push of a button. The new Star Alert also offers automatic fall detection, so help will be alerted even if they can't press the button. Call and ask about Star Alert today.
Welcome back. We Should Know is on the air. JW Simmons here, your host. Thank you for being with us today. Dr. Bill Starling, President of Sampson Community College. Bill, thank you again for sitting down with us today. As we come back from this break, I can't get that slogan or motto out of my mind. Start here, go anywhere. That has tremendous impact when you look at it from the sense of what do you want to do with your life, whether you're 50, 18, whatever your age is, whatever your passion is. It's available for you if you're willing to step up and say, that's what I want to do. But there's so many choices with the community college system today. How do you help folks that are saying, well, I really don't know what I want to do? The world is too complicated. I don't want to commit to anything. Help us understand that starting point and where we might want to go?
I'm not going to dodge your question, but I want to begin with a little bit of a perspective that precedes that.
Please.
When we began on the quarter system under a contract with UNCW or whatever. The transferability of courses and whatever was always an issue. When you were in associate of applied science courses, their transfer was always a subjective conversation with students. The vision that at some point in time in North Carolina, we would have a continuum of education, that if you came out of high school, you went to a community college, you could move to a university. Believe it or not, I stayed long enough for that to be a reality. Mm-hmm. All our courses are now on the semester system. You have the Uniform Articulation Agreement, which is mandated by the General Assembly. You have specialized articulation agreements with Associate of Arts programs or whatever. So for the young person that comes to Sampson, they're not really certain of what they want to do. Wherever they choose to land, they can be with us for a period of time and go. You can be in the welding program, and if you decide upon completion of the welding program that you want to, and I use this expression, go to college, mm-hmm. and it hurts me to use that expression, East Carolina will accept you into a Bachelor's of Industrial Technology. So there are our heating and air conditioning programs, our electrical programs. All these programs don't in any way preclude you from going forward. So no matter where you are in the institution, if you are progressing, you're exploring careers or whatever, perhaps you go down this road and decide that's not the road I want to go down. Mm-hmm. You can recover. Begin Here, Go Anywhere, I think was established in the 1980s or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's not been amended. It's still used because it represents, I think, who we are mm-hmm. to so many young people and their families. With the advent of DL courses from the university system, which are available, so many young people can come to us now. They can do 2 years with us. A lot of that can be DL if they wanted to. They can complete a bachelor's degree, never leave their home, or never have to interrupt their life story, however it's progressing. So to an individual, to a young person who doesn't really know what they want to do, mm-hmm. we're a great place to come figure that out.
Well, part of that too, and you've mentioned some of the trades programs, and I constantly, as you do as well, talk to folks in the community, and a lot of the feedback I'm getting from some of the tradespeople, whether it's electrical or plumbing or whatever that trade may be, is they're having trouble getting folks even to be apprentices. They're saying, I'd like to hire you because I've reached the age that I'm kind of looking at stepping out. There's certain things I can't do. Some of these folks that do plumbing work are saying, look, I've kind of progressed where age-wise I'm not going to crawl under a structure. There's certain things so they need young people, but they can't seem to get them interested in that, but yet the salaries is not the issue.
Our enrollment, you can't, if you don't register for welding early, you can't get a seat. Welding is full from Monday morning to the end of the week, late at night. Heating and air conditioning, electrical. Our enrollment growth over the last couple of years has been driven by a significant enrollment growth in what we would call traditional trades programs. We've made significant investments in them. If anyone would like to come out and tour and see what our resources now, call me, call Barney Grady, or anyone, and we'll be happy to give you a tour. We don't have plumbing. I'm making if anyone out there is qualified to teach plumbing and wants to begin a faculty career teaching plumbing,
you want to see that,
please give me a call. That's one piece of the mix that we don't have. But the tide has changed, and it's continuing to encourage us. As I say, our college transfer enrollment has been, for the most part, stable for the last several years. Our enrollment growth has been on the trades and side of the house, from construction to heating and air conditioning, electrical, welding, all that group.
when I look at the programs and some of those you just alluded to, it causes me to reflect back. The funding formula as far as state funds for the community college is built around enrollment, same as public schools, but the formula for curriculum and extension kinds of programs, is there still a difference in the amount of funding?
No, for the most part, they're at parity now. There is an effort right now underway with a new state president. They are revisiting the funding formula. It hopes, I think, that they want to make another presentation to the General Assembly this year. We're still not tiered correctly. I can show you, truck driving is something we're very, very proud of. We lose money teaching truck driving. It's so expensive. Heavy equipment, which we have just started this fall. I told someone yesterday, Amanda broke me of thinking that buying a truck is an expensive proposition when we had a requisition for the bulldozer to lay against it. So enormous capital investments in these programs. The formula doesn't really provide encouraging pathways for them, but we're going ahead anyway, hoping that the funding formula will catch up to us.
As president and your staff, how do you look at determining that future? And you mentioned heavy equipment. You mentioned truck driving. How do you look at that and say that's something we need to invest in because there's a big demand for students, because there's a big demand for supply chain, because there's a big demand for construction? Help us understand how that decision process works, because as you just said, that's a big investment. It's just a truck driving program. We're talking millions of dollars easily.
We're Sampson Community College. We serve Sampson County and the surrounding areas. We know who we are. We're not going to be putting in a pharmaceutical tech program. We're not going to be putting in, a high-end or a specialized IT security program or whatever, because our service area is built principally on agriculture, on and farming and whatever. So when we program, we think about who are we, what are the demands of employers in the industry around. They're for truck drivers. They're for heavy equipment operators. They're for, for people who can weld and fabricate. And so we're trying to stay in the middle of the mission statement. And if we think we do a really, really good job reflecting the demands and the needs of our service area, we think we will be successful. So far, we have been. Again, I express concern. These are very expensive programs. And everyone around us seems now want to start their own truck driving program or whatever. So we're going to rely upon the support of our service area. And again, as I said before on some of our programs, if we do this better than other people, and we should, because we've been at it longer than they have, we will continue to be successful.
A lot of the programs that you just alluded to as well are skill programs. They use what I call hands-on.
They are.
You've got to do something. You've got to engage with something. Is that something you see is just going to continue to increase as far as educational demand in that area for the next decade, for the next 2 decades? Is there a point in time that there's going to ever be a degradation in which, we really don't need anybody to either wire that building or drive that truck? Is that something that's going to be strong?
I think for the most part, and I don't want to be naive, most of the demand for these jobs appear to be recession resistant. I don't want to say recession proof. North Carolina is still a growing state. In fact, 1 hour from us, if you drive toward Wilmington, you drive toward Raleigh, the economies are just expanding. A lot of these people that we're training are actually going to find employment. If they can't find it here locally, they're going to find it regionally just around us. I think it's a reasonable guess that growth is certainly not going to end in my lifetime. And I think if you invest and you learn a skill in truck driving, or you invest and learn a skill in heavy equipment and are certified or whatever, employment opportunities are going to be available to you, for the next several decades. Will the technology change? Yes, certainly. It's always interesting to read about self-driving trucks and those types of things. But, you know, if you keep up with the problematic electric car self-driving issues, they've got to solve a lot of things before that's worked out with long-haul trucking.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad you brought that, because that's exactly what I wanted to talk about, is the whole technology advancement in those areas. And of course, one of those certainly is self-driving trucks. They're already on the roads. Yeah. The other part of that is our carbon-free expectation and what that's doing for us. And I don't mention VinFast and some of these other places because I don't see, as you said, them locating here, but yet they do require, these large billion-dollar corps do require hands-on training. So when we come back from this particular break, I want to kind of explore that and talk about it from the sense of regionalization.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking with Dr. Bill Starling, President of Sampson Community College. Stay tuned and call a friend.
Eastern North Carolina is a beautiful place where we gladly choose to call home, and we strive to provide the best communications services. STAR is committed to improving communications to all our service areas because we want to improve the communities where we not only work, but also live. STAR Communications. We are neighbors serving neighbors.
If you run a business, you need sales. To get sales, you need customers. To get customers, you need exposure. Let our team of experts craft and produce the perfect video ad to reach your intended audience while making the most of your advertising dollars. Call 1-800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to contact our STAR Communications production team and get your business moving to the next level.
105.7. 105.7. Tuning into Christian 105.7 is tuning in to a space of hope, encouragement, answers, and love. With the magic of radio or the convenience of the internet, Christian 105.7 is focused on sharing the universal truth and light of Christ with a local touch that creates that special feeling of community. More than just another broadcast station, we're your neighbors. Christian 105.7. What faith sounds like.
Thank you for being with us today. My name is JW Simmons. The name of the show is We Should Know. Star Communications Channel 16, WCLN Radio Weekly. We're talking today with Dr. Bill Starling, President of Sampson Community College. Bill, we just had an interesting conversation on break about technology and advancement in the future and those kinds of things. But let's explore that from your role as President of Community College, your history as President of Community College. Not only have you seen a lot of change, not only have you been part of making that change happen, what do you see when you look at the dynamic for the future? And as the community colleges, are they adapting regularly? Do they understand there's a sense of adaptation? Or is there still a territorialism issue in which, well, you can come here, but you got to live here, or you can take this course? Just kind of look at that from your window of view, and what does that future kind of look like for you as the president of community college?
Well, I'm going to respond in a couple of ways. One, I think we need to acknowledge that the North Carolina Community College system, which has 58 institutions, has at least one or two that are not like any of the rest of us. Wake Tech is a national leader, multiple campuses, serving the Triangle and the technology industries and all that are there. Yes, they're at the cutting edge of so many things, and we draw some of the accolades that are fed to them. Obviously, we get some of those from institutions that surround them or whatever. Rural institutions are facing unique challenges. That's one of the reasons that the budget formula is going to have to be studied, because so many institutions in North Carolina are serving populations that are actually in decline. But again, to go back to where we began, we have been successful. We have even grown in this environment because I think we have anticipated what some of the demands are in the workforce. I don't want to retreat from that dynamic, and that is just because something glitters or whatever and seems to be something that was featured on a television piece about some emerging technology, I don't want to bite that first. We understand that, you know, they're going to need electrical people, they're going to need heating and air conditioning people. These trades that serve and are so important to our service areas are still going to provide the backbone of our local economy. I do, and I use this often. They say Wayne Gretzky was, you know, one of the greatest of the hockey players, not because he was fastest or whatever, but he kind of could anticipate where the puck was going to be, so he would skate to it before it got there. We need to do some of that and anticipate where things are going to be, where technology is going to be, and try to position the institution for that. Going back to where we began, that's where you need capital. That's where you need faculty resources, and those are challenges to us. We look at the revolution that's going in the green industry or whatever. How long will it take for that to really be impactful locally? I don't think it gets here as soon as it gets to other places. Sampson's got some infrastructure challenges, obviously because of its size. But I also am aware that we need to be teaching solar, we need to be teaching battery technology, we need to be teaching all the, you know, important technologies that support the green industry. In heating and air conditioning, it's no longer just a heat pump. There are all kinds of different technologies out there, and I'm sure Jake is aware of them and incorporating them into his material. You know, the hog industry they continue to change because of not only environmental demands, but cost demands or whatever. We want to be supportive of agricultural technology. I'm not a futurist. A lot has changed. I can't see much farther than just a few years down the road. I think Sampson will be trying to do everything it can to support those training in those technologies. Welding is a good example. We have a wonderful welding program, whatever. We need additional space to teach robotic welding. We don't have spaces for robots. So, yes, we can see that need. No, we're not resourced to do it. So there's always going to be a tension between schools that serve rural areas or whatever who are perhaps not as well capitalized, certainly as a Wake, and our ability to maneuver ourselves for the future. So I don't know if I answered that, but we're trying to constantly be aware of what the technologies are that are impacting us locally. We've got, and I'll say this, and I hope if any of our faculty and staff, we have some of the brightest and most capable young faculty that we've ever had. And I'm confident that they can anticipate, train themselves as they will need to be trained and stay current in their field.
Part of what I look at with the community college system is that it's always, the 58 community colleges, it's always been community driven, a part of the community. And it seems now that the communities are in our state, whether we're in eastern North Carolina rural, whether you're in the western part of the state in rural, or whether you're in the Piedmont area and the Wake County area, which seems to have a lot of these computer technology things and some of the specific stuff, but it's still immersed in the community. The education of the community, of the adaptability and the importance of the community college system, are we doing enough? Is the state doing enough to ensure on the state level that role of the community college, although changing, is still part of the community? And each one does have that personality. I mean, when I look at the community colleges, it's that there's 58 people in the room, and I see each one of those people with a personality and things of experience. Each community college has experienced different things. Does the experience Sampson Community College has experienced over the past years prepare it for what it is possibly anticipating in the next decade, the next 2 decades? And you've alluded to some of those. And part of that is computer chips. Part of that is technology with solar and carbon-free environments. Are we moving there fast enough? And do we have not only the ability to adapt, but to be able to get on that train and ride, so to speak?
I'm going to break the question.
Big question.
And give you a perspective. North Carolina, is a growing state, very, very prosperous. A lot of the growth depends upon and gives homage to all the investment that was made in the university system after World War II. You see the creation of the Research Triangle and the expense. So the train is even picking up speed. But across North Carolina, we're seeing the Northeast is in significant decline. The Southeast is having population decline, except for the Wilmington corridor over there. So in many respects, there are 2 or 3 North Carolinas. I'm confident that in the urban areas where the technology industries, the pharmaceutical industries and all are present, that Central Carolina is going to serve VinFast and serve them very, very capably. Wake Tech and Scott Rawls are going to do an exemplary job of serving there. It becomes more challenging when you go into rural areas that don't have the tax structure. I think I make an impassioned plea, and I hope this is going to be part of some of the funding formula changes, that rural institutions are perhaps more important to the economic development of the rural areas than even the Central Carolinas and the Wake Techs are to supporting the growth in those areas. So we will be successful to the extent that we can be resourced to do that. Sampson, because of where we're located, we're not so far to the southeast. We're not in the northeast. We're kind of what I call a gray zone. We're eventually going to benefit, or if that is your opinion, benefit from the growth in Raleigh. It's eventually going to move down. We've seen Western Sampson begin to show evidence of economic growth because it's a shadow kind of Fayetteville. So I'm optimistic that Sampson will grow. I'm optimistic that the community college will be a part of that. If you ask me how quickly does that occur, I don't know. I think it could be a decade away in some areas, but we're going to be there. I wish we had additional presence in the northern part of the county, because I think that's where a lot of the activity is going to take place. So I'm kind of walking around your question.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, we're going to go to a break here in a few seconds now, but the thing I'm looking for here is do we have not only the local financial collateral to be able to make things happen quick enough? Do you feel like, and I looked at some things that the General Assembly was actually looking at for this biennium as we look forward at 2023 to 2025, and the community colleges were involved in the COVID thing. We've talked about that, but looking forward, it seems that change is happening extremely rapid. It's not something that we're looking at and saying, well, as managing the things on that college campus, that we can expect this next year. It may change in 6 months and it go in a different direction, or you may not have the funds to meet the capital needs that you need, just as you mentioned with the welding. Do you feel like our governance bodies, not just the community college system, but local commissioners, state legislators, understand how critical that is? And I want to take this up when we come back in the last segment to kind of think about that without getting too much in the weeds on it. But it just seems to me you've got a tremendous job to try to make sure everything is prepared, and then you don't really know which way that turns the steering wheel that you're going. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking with President Bill Starling, Community College System, making things happen right here in Sampson County.
Just because something may work doesn't mean it's right for your business. Let Star Communications' knowledgeable consultants help you customize a hosted voice system that's right for you. Our dedicated experts work with you to understand your business needs and guide you at every step, from choosing and installing services to ongoing maintenance and support. Contact Star today.
For the ultimate Wi-Fi experience, you need whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Star's whole home Wi-Fi provides ultimate coverage, ultimate performance, and ultimate power all the time. Star's whole home Wi-Fi systems feature the latest Wi-Fi 6 technology and are equipped with unrivaled bandwidth and 4 times more simultaneous connections. So you can connect tons of devices throughout your home with no lag and no downtime. Plus, with 24/7 support and remote troubleshooting, you can rest assured that Star is always there to help you should any issues arise. Star's whole home Wi-Fi also comes with the Command IQ mobile app, putting you in control of your home network and making it easy to set up and connect devices, run network speed tests, pause Wi-Fi, and set parental controls all from the palm of your hand. It's the ultimate Wi-Fi experience. Contact Star today to get started.
Train for a career in construction trades. At Sampson Community College, you can earn a degree or certification in construction, electrical, heating and air conditioning, welding, as well as other construction trades. Jobs in these fields are in high demand and pay competitive wages. Stop by the college or visit our website for more information.
Welcome back. We Should Know is on the air. JW Simmons here, your host. I want to remind you can reach us or send us your comments to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. That's weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. If you choose to drop a note or a letter to us, Post Office Box 1482, Clinton, North Carolina 28329. Always look for hearing from you, talking with you, meeting you in the grocery store or wherever it may be around in the area. You continue to give us some good ideas about shows and also comments on people we've had on the show. Today's show is Dr. Bill Starling, President of Sampson Community College. Bill, I'm sure we'll get a lot of comments on this show, particularly about future.
How about filter them if you would?
Yeah.
I don't get my feelings hurt so bad.
We'll try not to send you anything that's negative, all the positive stuff. But one of the things that I wanted to try to get in today, and time goes fast with these shows, even though we have 50-minute airtime, one of the things that's happened recently and just a short distance past here in this is that the community college here in Sampson County partnered with a number of other community colleges to include Lenore, James Brunt, Wayne, and we're talking $1 million, which sounds like a lot of money, but when you divide that between the community colleges, you're looking at about $250,000
for a 2-year period.
But we're looking like something that people know that's important, but it's a 2-year Latino initiative to train the eastern part of the state. It builds itself around the East Initiative as part of something. It's a broader collaborative with My Future NC, and we've had those folks on, Tony Blunt and Dr. Robert Loglier, we've had him on, but I thought that to me was just an innovative way of saying, here is a way the community colleges come together on their own to create a pathway for people to help not only improve, but move the revenue stream forward. Talk to us about that, how that happened, and where do you see that going? It's a gift, really, I think.
No, let me begin by saying this has been supported by the Anonymous Trust. There are 4 schools, Lenore, James Brunt, Wayne, and Sampson, who serve, kind of a common eastern area, which have some of the same challenges. And skilled labor is one of those, as we alluded to earlier. One of the populations that is most interested in, and we have been successful in serving, is the Hispanic population. So this gives us financial aid money, wraparound services, the ability to increase our staffing such that we can better meet with, better, if you will, market our opportunities here to those communities over the next 2 years. the hope is that our enrollment increase in those programs is such that, as you know from the community college experience you've had, that it sustains this into the future. There's every reason to think it will. Sampson, we haven't talked about this earlier, Sampson Community College was the first HSI in North Carolina. I think there are only two, James Sprung and us. That simply means that over the 25% of your enrollment are from Hispanic students. We're about, I think, at around 32% this fall. So it's a significant population of students that we serve. This gives us money that we can continue our outreach, better serve and better support so many of those young people, targeting really, although they can use it for a broad spectrum of courses or programs, but really targeting, if you will, trying to give them skill acquisition in a reasonable period of time. We've just started it. We can come back next year and I can give you an update. But again, it is an example of a collaborative effort among schools in which we're trying to work together.
One of the things I want to clarify with this too, because there's always different thoughts out there. The Latino Hispanic community is a key asset for our ag market in this county. They're key assets for everything going forward as it relates to skill technologies and those kinds of things. Some of those things that we just alluded to on this show. So it's not like you're singling a community out saying, well, we're just going to give these folks some money, but we're not going to give these. I want folks to understand so I don't get all those calls.
No, and we haven't. Let me say to other members of other communities, please reach out to us. We have other financial aid opportunities but this gives us additional money that we can reach out to this community with, and allows us actually to serve other communities better because these resources are now available. So we focus on anyone's needs, but this is a targeted effort, and we think it has great promise. And I want to thank the Anonymous Trust for their trust in us that we can be good custodians of their money.
And the folks with My Future NC is to be complimented because a tremendous task that they have by 2030 at the number of people they're looking at having trained and ready to put in the workplace. So I'd just like to invite folks to take a close look at that. And that's an example, the reason I wanted to bring that up, that's an example where community colleges have that capability of coming together as multiple counties, multiple community colleges, and making things happen on a collaborative basis. And it's not just a standalone community college. It's very important that we look at that. I want to move to something that seems to be part of everything. It's been in the Congress of the United States. They've looked at committee studies on it. They look at put everything from potential threat to future possibilities, but it's called AI, alternative intelligence, that has now hit the screen for most people. A lot of people are adapting to this very well. Chat GTP or whatever it may be. I personally listened to a TED Talk the other day. Folks may not be familiar with that, but basically explaining how important it is to education and what a huge plus it's going to be for education. Talk to us about your thoughts on that, particularly for adult education. This technology advancement that gives us, should I say, an alternative brain thrust out there. Let's talk about some of the pluses and some of the things that maybe we need to caution ourselves about.
Well, this has both an opportunity, I want to talk about that, and it does create somewhat challenges for our faculty. ChatGTP kind of came upon us last spring or whatever. I have it on my phone right now. I have it on my desktop at work, and we'll talk about the uses of that. But certainly for academic assignments or whatever, it's created a challenge for faculty. Students are using it. It is interesting that most faculty can pick up on when something is being created by ChatGTP, turn it in. Our plagiarism software picks up on it initially. So there are some safeguards that we have to take as an academic institution to make sure students are, in fact, they can use it as a tool, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But it cannot be the entity that does your work.
Exactly.
So our faculty are having to change some of the ways they're making assignments and the way some of their assessment. I actually encourage our faculty and staff to use it, to teach it as a tool. We had Jim DeMay used it just to show how quickly it would do a lesson plan or a class exercise. It can do it almost instantaneously. It is a unusually productive tool for administration. If I was going to interview you today, I could ask ChatGTP, as I'm getting ready to interview, give me 10 questions. I may not like the 10. I may have to edit them a little bit, but it does it instantaneously.
Absolutely.
And it gives me a starting point.
In seconds.
I think this is appropriate to say, if you teach Sunday school, engage ChatGTP to help you with your Sunday school lesson. You would be surprised how quickly it can make you a biblical scholar that you weren't. So I've heard, people say that it is going to displace so many jobs or whatever. I think someone else more correctly said, for workers who don't know how to use AI and these types of tools, those will be the workers that are displaced.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is the importance of validating some of the things as well. A lot of folks have made this point on some national networks, is that, and of course is one of the things Congress has looked at, is the cautionary tale of something that is put there and maybe it's off a bit, it's not exactly right, so you have to validate it. And I think for educators, for folks that's got our background, is that we can do a course lesson plan with objectives, and as you know, objectives is measurable, but the data becomes very important. So validation is part of that as well.
Yeah, and one of the tricks we know is it's not current. So if you want to ask a student a question that requires him to have knowledge of a current event and write something about the current event, ChatGTP can't help you because it doesn't even know about it, and it will tell you it doesn't.
Right. And plus localism and colloquial things, sometimes it don't pick up on it, which is simply because it's not in the database.
No, and it writes in a style that most of us don't. So I'll leave it at that.
It's relatively clear. I think in the future we're going to, and this is an example, I wanted to bring that out because I think for folks in your position is being able to see these kinds of things that's going to pop up in the future, not just AI, but other kinds of technology pieces, and be able to adapt to that.
Yeah, and for our young people, can you imagine the world that they're going to work in? I mean, this is just the front of this wave that's going to sweep through. So they've got to be adaptive. They've got to learn this as productivity tools. They've got to be able to take and embrace them in whatever their career is, so that they can be better at them. We can't simply opt out and say because our values or whatever. No, it's just like the calculator, which came on the scene. I went to college, believe it or not, my first semester using a slide rule.
Wow.
I'd have to explain to a number of people what that is and understand. But Texas Instruments came out with a calculator when I was like a second semester freshman.
Well, Bill, we've as always when I have you on, I like to have on 2 or 3 hours, but we've come up to closure here. I want to thank you for taking time to be here, and plus I want to thank you for dedicating the major portion of your life to this community and Sampson Community College.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and there's so many people that joined me in this journey, and thank you for being a part of it.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. We'll see you next week, and may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host JW Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.